Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Well, thank you for listening in today. Today we have Hans as our guest speaker. He came from South America, from Venezuela. He was born and raised there. He came 11 years ago in 2013. He created his career working for Puma for 27 years. He was the GM of the company, and then all of a sudden, the economy collapsed in Venezuela. He had to make a shift. He had a family and decided to come to the States and start from scratch. Didn't know anybody, didn't have anybody, any connections, and just took the plunge. And that's pretty crazy, but he made it happen. He's transitioned into real estate. He's out in Florida, started in the condo world, and now he's transitioned into multifamily. He loves multifamily because it has reoccurring income. Hans, welcome.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you for having me. I'm blessed and honored to be invited here. Thank you so much. Very happy. I hope I can add some value to all the ones who are listening today.
Yes, I'm sure you can. It's pretty brave and courageous of you, and your wife and your kids to just come to a new country just blindly like that and say, "Hey, we're going to do it." Right? It shows you what this country has to offer, if you chase it and if you work hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is an amazing country. You know, one of the things that I found that was so different than any other country is I would never imagine that as a foreigner, a lender would actually give you money to buy real estate. That is something very unique to this country. And it's amazing. I mean, if you really want to make it here, you just have to put your right mindset. Say, I'm going to do it, and things will happen.
Right? Perseverance and consistency is what takes you there.
Absolutely.
And I think you have it. I know we've known each other for a few years already. I remember you were starting out in the business, but you were there, at the events every time, no matter what. And it's, sometimes you see people and then they kind of drop out. You don't see them anymore. And in this business, you got to just be consistent, and you might not see results all the time, but I talk to you all the time. You always have this great energy about yourself, everybody else, and you really stand out above the crowd. And I mean that literally, because tell everybody how tall you really are.
I'm only 6'8" tall.
Yeah. So you actually stand out, and always smiling. But you know what? Give us a little bit about a quick snapshot of what your business looks like so that everybody understands what you do now, or maybe even if you want to talk a little bit about how you transitioned into it, because people might be thinking about it or wanting to do it and just don't know the path to get there.
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, when I came here, I started doing sort of things to put some food on the table, right? So I even delivered balloons for my wife's business, right? So this is not something that you need to be someone that has a PhD or some sort of special, mental skill. It just requires, as you said, Danny, you need to be consistent and actually do it over and over again until you actually succeed, right?
Right.
Basically, I started investing in condos because that's what I knew, right? In fact, when I started, it was just safeguarding from inflation. I had my savings. I was here in the country, and and my savings were going like this, right? So I decided to invest my money into real estate because in my mind it was okay. At least I know the money is not going to disappear, and real estate always appreciates, or it's very hard for it to lose value. So that was my thought process, right? But then I started receiving that recurring income from the rentals.
Mhm.
And that was like magic. That was the
Mhm.
first time I felt like, well, this is great. I don't have to wake up every morning and grind in order to get this type of income. It will just, I wouldn't say magically, but basically
Right.
it just appears every first of the month in my account. And yes, of course, you have to deal and do some asset management, but it's not something that
Right.
it's a 9 to 5. right? So I said, how do I get more of that? And one of my thought process was, I always saw these, big names in real estate, right? They're always
Mhm.
buying properties and buying properties. And my thought process is, how is it that they never run out of money? I don't know, the Hilton family or, those big names that everybody is familiar with.
Right.
I was like, how is it they never run out of money? They're always buying and they always have more. It doesn't make sense to me, right?
Mhm.
So by doing research and trying to learn a little bit more, it's when I came to the concept of syndications and funds, and that's when it clicked, right? Because I think most of us who are seeing this probably have read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that concept of OPM, or using other people's money, that sounded very strange to me. I was like, it sounds, and he said, you don't need money to make money. I said, easy for you to say, Kiyosaki, you have a ton of it. Right?
Right.
So
Right.
in my opinion, it was like when I already depleted most of my savings, right? I was like, how do I create more? So I understood the concept of multifamily, took a leap of faith, did a joint venture. That's how I started my first multifamily. Today I call it a smaller property. At that time for me was like, wow, I'm the king of the world. I bought a 12 unit apartment complex here in Hollywood in Florida.
Mhm.
And for me, it was like, wow, I'm now in the multifamily space.
Mhm.
And then I go to networking events and to some conference, and I meet people like yourself, and you're doing 100 unit deals.
Mhm.
I felt like I'm a little ant, right? Like, well, how do you do those, right? And that's
Right.
when I understood funds and syndications, that it's when it clicked, like, wow, you can actually come up with a strategy to buy a business, because at the end of the day, in my opinion, when you're buying multifamily, you're buying businesses, right? You can buy
Mhm.
this business and you come with a strategy to take it to a higher level. Then you can, partner with someone like you, right, that has the
Mhm.
experience and can help you get the loan, right? And then you just invite investors. And for me, it was like, wow, was that aha moment of,
Right.
wow, how can I do that? I want to do that. Of
Yeah.
course, invested in myself into some education. And I do believe that you need to invest in yourself, because it will just shorten the curve of learning, right? Because you
Right.
can do a lot of costly mistakes in the
Yeah. Yeah.
process, right? And sometimes, yes, there's so much information out there that some people say, yeah, you can do this by your own, but which one is the good information? Which one's the bad, Danny, right? What
Yeah.
what is
Okay.
what actually works, or how do you put it in order so first do this, then do that, right? So you don't start
Mhm.
spending money or spending time on the things that don't move the needle forward, right? So
Right.
when I understood how that was, right, because I invested in myself, took a lot of courses about it, went to a lot of networking events. I was then, after 3 months, I was able to buy my first 100 units, and it felt like, wow, I can't imagine that, me as a foreigner with a weird accent, with, I don't know anybody, how can I do this? And I was able to do it. I was able to pull it off. And now it's just been a journey of closing one after the other. We just closed back in June another 111 doors. Back in December, we closed another 122. So that's what I've been doing.
Wow.
This has been my journey in a nutshell.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That's a great story. I think it's inspirational, especially because you're not from this country. Imagine what somebody that's born and raised here and knows how to move around in this country can actually do if they set their mind to it, right? It seems like it's nothing but a mindset. You just have to decide what you're going to do and figure it out. But like you mentioned, by education, talking to people, maybe hiring some mentors and just have somebody teach you the path, but you have to stay on it. And that's awesome what you've been able to do. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now,
Yeah. And
go ahead.
yeah, I mean, one of the things is you have to be consistent, right? I see
Mhm.
so many times I have people that approach me and say, "How did you do it? How fast is it?" Right? And the reality is, it's just being consistent, right? I had to submit. Sometimes I'm ashamed to say how many offers I had to submit until I got my first one accepted. But it was over 50 offers until I got the first one, right? And you have
Yeah.
to, it's as you said, it's a mindset, right? I remember my
Right.
first phone call to a broker, right? I felt I had, now I know this concept of the imposter syndrome, right? I'm talking to a broker to buy a multi-million-dollar deal, And I don't have multi-million-dollar bank account, right? I've never done this before, but there you are having that conversation. I remember the first time I called, I dialed in the number, and when the broker answered, I panicked and I hung up. But since they have caller ID, the broker
Right.
called back, and I panicked, and my reaction was, I want to throw the phone, like
Right.
this
Yeah.
call,
Yeah.
right? So it just takes repetition, right? It's not something that is something you learn and you do it perfect the first time. It's you perfect it as you start doing it and showing up and being authentic, being yourself. You don't have to be somebody else to do this. You just the way you are is just perfect. Just get the repetitions, right?
Right. Right. Almost like going through the motions as if you were there already, and then all of a sudden you are there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it almost looks like, kind of in simple terms, is if you want to get in shape, you go to the gym and you work out, and let's say you worked out really hard that day, and you came back and you looked at yourself and there's no change, right?
Yes.
Then you go and you do this every day for a week, and at the end of the week there's still no change. And then you do it for a month, and there's probably no change between the first and the last day of the month. But then you do it for 6 months, and now you start noticing the difference, right? You're
Absolutely.
being consistent. And like you said, you put in 50 offers in, and they all got rejected. But I would bet that one that got accepted was a good deal to chase,
Yes.
right? And that's the
Yes.
beauty of it, is it's like you go over and over and over. And I think anybody who's in the business or who's been in the business long enough knows it's like rejection is number one. It's part of the deal, right? So you have to get, it's like you have to go through 100 to get that one yes. So you want to
Yes.
go through that 100 no's quickly, so you hit that one yes at the end, right? Now, this is a very competitive business, right? And
Yes.
anybody who's watching says, well, I know somebody who does this and I know somebody who does that, kind of the same thing. And like, okay, so what makes you different and makes you stand apart from the competition amongst the brokers or amongst the investors or amongst the people that just want to work with you?
That is an amazing question. I believe uh, if we talk about the brokers first, right?
Mhm.
What I've learned when I got into the business, I thought that I needed to have the highest offer, right? Money talks. And the
Mhm.
reality is, I've been able to learn from both sides of the fence,
Right.
right? Selling properties, because I've gone already full cycle in one of my properties, and being able to buy other properties. It's not the highest price. It's actually, brokers want to have a surety of closing and work with people that are easy to work with, right? So if
Mhm.
you're a
Right.
complicated person who asks 3,000 questions about nitty gritty stuff, about the $5 difference here on the numbers and $3
Mhm.
there, right? You become difficult to work with. They don't want to work. It doesn't matter how much your offer is. They just don't want to
Mhm.
work with you, because taking down these deals is not just, I put an offer, got accepted, money's wired, and it is, right? There's
Right.
in between, there's so much that happens during due diligence, and so much questions and so much work and inspections, and so you have to be easy to work with. So one of the things that, if someone is getting into this business, is be easy to work with,
Mhm.
respond, be if the broker is asking you for something, don't wait a week to give a response. Respond the same
Mhm.
day, acknowledge, hey, I got what you asked. Give me a few minutes or give me a day and I'll get the answers for you, right? It's important to show that, right? Show
Right.
show a surety of closing.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I think also, when you're talking to sponsors, especially, be authentic. Don't try to be something you're not, right?
Mhm.
Don't try to lie or say something to make you look better than what you actually are. Just
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
authentic. Recognize, hey, I'm new at this, right? I need help, right? But remember that the value that any of us is bringing to the table, if you're starting new, is basically, you have to be able to analyze the deal and come up with a strategy, right? I like to quote what Jim Rohn says, right? You don't get paid for your time, you get paid for the value you bring to the
Mhm.
marketplace.
Mhm.
And here, basically, there's a lot of people willing to partner with you, investors and sponsors, right? And brokers. but you have to become valuable by understanding where the business is currently at and what is it that you can do in order to take it to a higher level, right? Because at the end of the day, in multifamily, Danny, we make money by, adding value to these properties, right? And the way we add
Right.
value is we increase the income, and if we increase the income, the property basically we force the appreciation. So you have to come
Mhm.
up with a solid business plan. Don't fall into
Right.
the trap of thinking, oh, a broker just send me a deal and I have the financials, T12 rent roll and an OM, and I have a deal and now I go to a sponsor. That has little value. What has
Mhm.
the value is I put the thought process, right? I used my brain in order to come up with a strategy to take it from where it's currently at to a higher level. And that basically is the underwriting, right? That's what
Right.
underwriting is.
Right.
I call it a fancy word for for business plan, right? But
Right.
it's a
Right.
business plan. It is
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
much will it cost me? How long will it take me to get there, right? What are the returns going to look like? What are all the market conditions that I'm considering? What could happen down the line? Am I being conservative, or do all the stars need to align in order to make my business plan work? Because
Right.
the reality is, as you know, Danny, things cost more and take
Mhm.
longer than what we always project, right?
Right.
So you have to have some cushion on your projections, but that's the value we bring, right? So,
Right.
and when you
Right.
think about it, it's very easy to add that value if you know how to get those skills, how to really understand these numbers, right? Looking at, as I call it, like a property doctor, right? The
Right.
property doctor, they look at the blood work and the X-ray to come up with a
Yeah.
treatment plan when
Yeah.
you have some
Yeah.
sort of pain. The same thing we do, right? We look
Right.
at the
Right.
numbers, the financials, the market. That's the blood work and the X-ray, and we then come up with a strategy to a treatment plan, a business plan, which is the underwriting. So I believe those are the things that become very valuable when you're getting into this industry, and learning how to do that. I call it's a multi-million-dollar skill set, right? It's the same skill why I would say, the CEO of McDonald's, he gets paid $19 million a year, right? Why? Because
Yeah.
he's able to understand where the business is currently at, how to come with a business plan, a strategy to take it to a higher level, and then put a team together and go and execute it. That's exactly the same thing we do here.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And seems like you're really good at underwriting. If there's somebody that wants to get started in the business and wants to take that route as an example, what tips would you give them that would help them maybe save some time or skip some of the painful moments of that?
Yeah, I believe it starts with being able to start asking the right questions so you get the right type of deals sent to you, right? One of
Hmm.
the first thing I would advise anyone who's starting in the industry: don't work with buyers brokers. Go directly to seller brokers, right? They are the
Hmm.
ones who have the whole information, and they have the deal, right? So work with them. Um, and one of the things is have a clear buy box, know what you want to buy, and select a market, right? One big mistake that costs a lot of time for newer investors is they're looking at everything and everything anywhere, right?
Right.
It's very hard to hit a target if you're just shooting blindly, right? If
Hmm.
you really
Hmm.
want to hit a target,
100%.
you need to focus right on that target, and then you shoot for that. So know
Right.
your market, understand why is it a good market? Is it growing, right? Analyze the market so you know, is there job growth? Is there growth in that market? Is the economy growing? Where is it leading in the next few years? Because when you're buying a property, at the end of the day, the product that you have is units where people will live, right? So you want to have people
Hmm.
coming in, and the more people is coming in, well, the more likely you can increase your price or your rents, right? But if
Right.
people are
Right.
fleeing out when the economy is going down, it's very unlikely that you will be able to increase that income, right?
True.
So learn your market and learn how to say no quickly to deals, right? Because
Mhm.
um, don't fall into underwriting everything that falls through your desk. Learn how to recognize certain patterns. And one of the things, Danny, that I feel when I was getting started, I didn't know a lot of things, right? About
Mhm.
how to come up with the strategy. I believe finding help, getting a mentor, getting a coach that helps
Mhm.
you do that is critical. And also learn how to put your team together. Right?
Mhm.
This is a team sport, but I believe when you build your team, you got to be careful on not building a relay race team. Many
Mhm.
times, I hear people saying, well, I'm going to build my team. This person's going to be the capital raiser. That other one's going to be the broker relations. The other one's going to be asset manager. The other one's going to do the underwriting. And that's like a relay race, right? One person is running, everybody else is waiting until they pass the baton. And the reality is sometimes none of those other team members have ever had any experience on any of those roles, right? So I would rather build your team as a rowing boat race where everybody is on the boat, everybody has a row, everybody's rowing as hard as they can. And if you're not rowing, you're dead weight and you're out of my boat.
That makes total sense. I totally agree. I've seen the same scenario, and it's just like without experience, it's like, what are they going to do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you ask me, I believe that is critical to know how to build your team with people with experience, right? Know what the value is that you bring on the table. And I believe as a newer investor, when you've never raised capital before, when you've never done any asset management before, then hey, learn how to underwrite, because underwriting is the heart and soul of this business. You needed to find the deals, right? To know if this is a deal or not. By knowing the numbers, you become by default a good capital raiser, because at the end of the day, when you are talking to investors, you're not selling them a condo on the beach. Look at the view, how beautiful it is. Right. You're selling an investment, right? So you need to understand the numbers. And if you're not able to explain the numbers, if you don't understand the underwriting, what the business plan is, the investors very likely are going to say no, because they feel, well, this person does not know what I'm investing my money in. So you need to really understand how to explain this to investors. They want to understand, how long are you going to have my money in it? How much returns are going to be there? What's your plan? What do you have as you know, as cushion, right? What's your vacancy? What's your entry cap rate? Your exit cap rate? I'm getting a little bit too technical, but you know, there's language that you need to know in order to talk to investors, so they understand that you know what you're talking about. But then when you buy the deal, you have to go and execute what you promised them, right? You say, I'm going to buy this deal to do this. This is what you promised the investors. So now the asset management is just making sure that you execute on your underwriting. So the underwriting is the piece that I believe is where someone that's coming in new can actually get in, understand how this is done, and then from there build up all the other skills. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because you know, like you said, if you're pitching an investment to an investor, you have to understand yourself, because your name is on the line. It's their money that you have to protect, and you have to understand that that's a good investment for them, right? And then the second half seems like you have to deliver. So once you close, you got to do the asset management and make sure it gets to the finish line by following the business plan that you established previously. So that's very well laid out, because that way people can understand that. Now, it sounds like you've had two careers. This is your second career. Your Pumo career was your first career. What's one of the biggest challenges that you want to share for everyone, and how you overcame them in either of the two, right? If one was a bigger challenge somewhere, or the other one, you know, what can you tell us?
I think there's challenges. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think one of the biggest challenge is fighting your own mindset, is fighting the image you have from yourself, saying, yeah, you know, for me, it was like, I'm going to be sitting on the same table where these high net worth individuals are, and, you know, people who have succeeded doing this. I started late, right? I started doing this when I was 40 something, right? So, you know, you have that thought process of, yeah, you know, these people are so far ahead from me, and I'm just maybe so little. So those things you have to fight and say, yes, I can do this. If I put my mind to it, my heart and soul, and if I really apply myself, I can do whatever I want, right? I think there's nothing that we can't achieve if we actually put our mind to it. I mean, if you think about it, in the 60s, we put a man on the moon, right? With less technology that we have on the watch right now, right? So if they put their mind into that, right, we can do anything we want, right? So I think one of the biggest challenges is just to fight our own limiting beliefs, right? And we have days of motivation, right? Where we're like, yeah, I'm gonna eat the world, and
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
know, but we have a lot of days where you don't feel like that, right?
Right.
So you have to fight with that. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you that everything was rainbows and unicorns and happy days. There were some burning the midnight oil. There was a lot of times where, you're sitting 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning underwriting something, and then see it doesn't go anywhere, and it's heartbreaking. Yeah. So you have
Yeah.
to be able to fight that, oh, I'm going to give up, because everything that is worth pursuing is going to have a price, is going to have
Oh,
an
yeah.
effort,
Yeah.
right? If not, then everybody would do it, right?
Hmm.
So I believe anybody can do it. It's just not everybody uh, pushes through until they
Right.
succeed, right? I think
Right.
there's a lot of people who give up too early, right? And then the problem with that is, and that is one of the challenges that I've faced, right? Is you start doing this and then you don't see success, and then you're okay, now I'll leave it here. Now I'm going to do that other thing, and then you
Right.
start doing and you don't have success, and then you drop it again, and then you're always seeking that super opportunity that's going to, be there, and then time passes by and you have not done anything, right?
Right.
Rather
Right.
than
Right.
saying I'm going to do this and I failed, and it's not I failed, now I have the experience for next time, I'm not going to fall for that. And then you build that experience until you finally crush it and say, boom, I got the first one. And now you have to go, and new challenges arise
Right.
when you
Right. Right.
when you have the first one. Yes.
Continue the momentum. Basically,
Yes.
is getting there. And if you're deciding or you're feeling like quitting, you never know, that one next try is what gets you over that hump,
Absolutely.
right? You don't. Some people that quit, they quit just a little bit too early, right when they were about to hit it. A little bit of
Yes.
success, and it kind of would propel you to do another one, right? And to do another one. And all of a sudden, when you look back, you've done 4 or 5 deals, and you're like, wow, okay, I have a real portfolio now. And now I'm starting to make things happen. And you're getting the experience, and you maybe start getting a little bit more comfortable at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so it seems like in the multifamily business and for investors, the greatest attraction is the reoccurring cash flow, right? At the end of the
Absolutely.
day, I think investors are attracted to make these kind of investments is because they get that mailbox check, right?
Absolutely.
And be able to increase their wealth, to double their money, potentially maybe in their IRA accounts, their retirement accounts. There's all kinds of different ways, right, that they can use money that they have to invest in these type of deals. So as we
Absolutely.
wrap up our interview, what plans do you have for the next 6 to 12 months? What gets you excited?
That's always exciting. Yes, you always have to have goals, and that's your roadmap on where you're going. Yes.
Right.
So one of my goals is I want to close another 100 units in the first half of 2025. Right.
Mhm.
Already in some negotiations. And one of the biggest goals also is, it's not always about, what do I want for myself, right? It's also, how do I help other people, right?
Mhm.
And I would say I've been blessed that through the network of people that I've been able to meet, I've been
Mhm.
able to create some very good partnerships. I actually partner with a very good friend of yours as well, Hitomi Yasuda, right?
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
is someone who really taught me how to do the underwriting. And thanks to her, right, I was able to get into my first deal. And we partner together now, and we are basically are helping other investors also to get into the space and master the underwriting process. We've
Mhm.
been successfully helping some students. We have just last week a student of ours closed on a 70-something unit apartment complex. I have another student who we help close on a 64 unit, and they already have
Wow.
a 49 under contract. So being able to be a part of someone else's success, I would say, is for me one of the most fulfilling things, right? So I want to be able to help other people as well
Mhm.
understand how to get into the business, and that it doesn't matter if you come from a rich family or a poor family or where you come from. I mean, I'm from South America, and I was able to make it. So I believe that if you really learn the skills, right, you can do it, and see someone that didn't know anything about this, and that we could actually help them put it on their way and close their first deal and know that we're setting themselves for success, that is super rewarding. And while doing that, with we have a training program, a coaching program, where we basically teach people how
Right.
to master the underwriting.
Yeah.
And that's also one of our goals, is to be able to help another at least 10 people get their first deal done in the next year.
That is awesome, because you're really changing lives here. And I think, and I
Absolutely.
see the excitement in your face to be able to do that, to be able to bring something like that to somebody who had no idea they could do it, or who wanted to do it and just didn't know how to get started. That's like awesome. Congrats to you and Hitomi and your whole team. I think I know pretty much everybody, but it's awesome. You guys are doing awesome things here. And I'm glad to have you guys as friends as well. Um, and so thanks so much for your time and sharing your insight and your experience. I think it really resonates with many of the audience that will be listening to this. And if somebody wanted to reach out and get a hold of you, how would they do that?
So I got this fancy, very high tech way of showing how to contact. Right. So here's all the information. You have our email. Here's my Facebook. Here's my Instagram, and here's our website if you want to take a look at it. Right. I put it closely here so you can take a picture. Right. That's the best way to contact us. I'm always putting some content on social media to add some value. And I believe, in network. I think, your net worth is your network. I'm so happy that you invited me here, Danny. Since I started, you've always been available for me to give me some advice, to give me some heads up, or tell me, hey, don't
Mhm,
go that route. Yes. So
mhm, mhm.
I truly appreciate all those little nuggets of information that you've always been willing to share with me. I'm really appreciative of that. And this is something I think for all the audience, right? When you meet someone like Danny, right? There's so many nice people that will help you through this route, right? Nobody's going to look down on you. Although it's all the contrary. People want to see you succeed. And this is a
Right.
perfect example of, I met Danny, and he's been so kind to me, and now I'm here on his podcast. I'm so humbled, and thank you so much for having me here.
No, always a pleasure, Hans. Nice having you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.